I first heard about the town by accident. It was just a throwaway comment buried deep in some online forum where people were talking about unsolved missing persons cases. You know, the kind of thread you find yourself scrolling through at 2 in the morning when your brain just refuses to shut off. Someone had written, "Don't bother digging into the disappearances near Ridgetop Valley. They don't search for anyone there." That was it. No context, no follow-up, just that one chilling line. At first, I didn't think much of it. Small towns can be strange. They handle things differently. Maybe they rely on volunteer efforts instead of formal police logs. Maybe they don't have the funding, or maybe they just don't trust outsiders. But something about the way that comment was phrased, it stuck with me. They don't search for anyone. It didn't sound like it was about a lack of resources. It sounded deliberate. A few days later, my curiosity got the better of me and I started digging. As you might expect, there's no official record of a place called Ridgetop Valley. Not in the normal sense. There's no city website, no population data, no cheesy police department Facebook page. But it exists. You can see it clear as day on satellite maps: clusters of houses, a school, a gas station, and a sheriff's office sitting right at the center of town like an anchor. It's a real place. It's just not documented the way everywhere else is. The first missing person I could connect to the town was from 2003, a teenage boy, last seen walking home from a high school football game. His mother called the sheriff's office, frantic. They told her he was probably just blowing off steam, being a typical teenager. When he didn't come back the next day, she called again. This time they told her she was overreacting. By the time she drove to the station in person, desperate for help, they told her something even stranger. "We have no record of you filing anything." I found 3 more cases just like that, each one a carbon copy of the last. The stories all followed the same horrifying pattern. Someone goes missing. The family panics and calls the police. The police say they'll make a note of it, but nothing ever gets logged. No reports are filed, no alerts are issued, no search parties are organized. And when the families push harder, desperate for answers, they're told their calls never even happened. In one case, the sheriff supposedly claimed he had never even heard of the missing man despite being the one the wife had spoken to on the phone. Twice. The thing that really got me hooked, the detail that turned this from a weird local story into an obsession, was how uniform the responses were. They were almost scripted. It was as if the entire town had rehearsed how to forget someone, how to erase them not just from the town, but from the official record, from memory itself. It didn't take long before I found articles written by small-time journalists, bloggers, freelancers, amateur investigators, people who had tried to pull at this same thread. Most of their articles were unfinished. Some of them just stopped, abruptly cutting off mid-sentence. One writer's last posted entry sent a shiver down my spine. It said, "If anyone finds this, I'm heading to Ridgetop Valley tomorrow. I have a feeling I won't be welcome." He never posted again. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he just abandoned the story. People move on. Life happens, projects get dropped. But then I found out he disappeared too. His family tried filing a report, and the same terrifying pattern repeated itself. No record, no follow-up. He was just gone. I wanted to believe there was a reasonable explanation for all this. Corruption, maybe. Gross incompetence. Some kind of weird regional dispute. But every time I dug deeper, things only got stranger. Phone numbers I found in old articles were suddenly disconnected. Websites that briefly mentioned the town were taken offline. I even tried looking up the property records for the sheriff's office, and the system told me the parcel didn't exist. Not that the information was private, not that it was restricted, just that it wasn't there. It was starting to feel less like a town and more like a hole deliberately carved into the map. I managed to talk to a former paramedic who used to work in the county next to Ridgetop. He spoke in this quiet, uneasy voice, like he was afraid of being overheard even years later. He told me that occasionally They'd get calls routed from that area: medical emergencies, domestic disputes, even a fire once. Every single time they responded, deputies from Ridgetop Valley would show up first and block them from entering. They'd say things like, "We handled it," or "You must have gotten the wrong location." One time, the paramedic said he could see smoke rising through the trees. He could smell something burning, but the deputies just stood there and refused to move. He said their faces didn't look angry or defensive. They just looked blank. He transferred departments 2 months later. He just wanted to get away. The more I looked into it, the more I realized the disappearances weren't random. They were steady, predictable, almost. It was one every couple of years at first. Then it became one every year. Then two, but always the same response: none. No case numbers, no flyers on telephone poles. No searches. No acknowledgement that anyone was missing at all. And then something happened that made this whole thing stop feeling like research. It started feeling personal. Last week I decided to call the sheriff's office myself. I just wanted to ask a simple, harmless question: if they had any public records available from the past decade. A woman answered on the first ring. Her voice was calm, too calm. I barely got 2 sentences into my request before she cut me off and said, "We don't have missing persons in Ridgetop Valley." I hadn't mentioned missing persons. I hadn't mentioned disappearances or cases or anything like it. Confused, I asked her what she meant, and she repeated the same thing, word for word, in the exact same monotone voice. "We don't have missing persons in Ridgetop Valley." Then she hung up. That night, I went back to the website of one of the journalists who had disappeared, the one who posted that he was driving there. His old articles were still up. His blog had been untouched for years, a digital tombstone. But a new post had appeared at the very top of the page. There was no title. There was no text. Just a single horrifying line: "Stop looking for us." It was posted at 3:11 a.m. There was no login activity on his account. No IP address trace. No digital footprint of any kind. It was as if the message had just materialized out of thin air. I don't know what's happening in that town. I don't know why they don't search for the people who vanish. I don't know why reporters and investigators who get too close just disappear into that same suffocating silence. But I do know this: a place that refuses to acknowledge the missing is either hiding something or helping someone hide it. And the more I dig, the more I get the feeling that whatever is happening in Ridgetop Valley didn't start with the people who went missing. It started with the people who were told not to look. Thanks for listening. If you find stories like this as fascinating and terrifying as I do, make sure to subscribe for more. And stay safe out there.